Now, I've tested a lot of robot lawn mowers over the years, and if I'm being honest, most of them eventually run into the same problems. Navigation gets unstable near trees or walls, and no matter how smart they claim to be, I still end up pulling out the hand trimmer to clean up the edges afterwards. So when I heard the ECOVACS GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro was using a completely different approach with the Dual-LiDAR Navigation and a fully autonomous edge trimmer, I was genuinely curious to see if this could finally be the first truly hands-free robotic mower experience. After using it on my own lawn, I definitely have some thoughts. Now, before we even talk about trimming or power, we need to talk about navigation because that's the foundation of everything. If a robot mower can't position itself accurately, the rest doesn't matter. My backyard actually has pretty good mix of difficult conditions for robotic lawn mowers. I've got heavy tree coverage on one side, fencing around the perimeter, walls close to the lawn, and uneven elevation changes. Normally, these are the exact areas where the RTK-based mowers start to struggle. Signal drift, hesitation, or random rerouting usually starts happening once shade or obstacle interference with satellite positioning. But the GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro uses something called HoloScope 360 Dual-LiDAR Navigation instead. What that means is that it's constantly scanning the environment around it using 360-degree mechanical LiDAR combined with the 3D TOF LiDAR system, along with an AI camera assisting with recognition and path adjustments. The important thing here is that it doesn't rely on satellite correction signals, boundary wires, or external antennas. So instead of depending on the sky, it depends on understanding the physical environment around it in real time. The first thing I did was let it map the lawn under heavy trees shade because honestly, that's where I expected problems. But surprisingly, it stayed completely stable. No drifting, no hesitation, and no weird rerouting behavior. Then I moved it closer to the house wall, where the RTK system typically struggle even more because of that signal reflection and obstruction. Again, it stayed locked in. I actually found myself walking behind it closely, just waiting for it to lose orientation. But it never really did. That was the first moment where I genuinely thought, okay, this is actually different. Now, one thing I personally appreciated was not having to think about signal quality anymore. With some RTK systems, you're always mentally wondering if a certain part of your yard is going to become a dead zone. Here, it just felt confident. The mower always seemed aware of where it was, even in the more difficult sections of the lawn. And since the LiDAR can scan up to 60 meters with highly accurate positioning, it feels very capable even for larger properties. But then we get to the part I probably hate the most with lawn maintenance, and that's edge trimming. Every robotic mower I've tested before this still let me doing cleanup work afterwards. Around walls, fences, flower beds, and corners. There's almost always that leftover strip of grass that forces you to grab another tool. So I set up a proper edge trimming challenge around my backyard. I tested straight wall sections, fencing, and tighter corners just to see how far this thing could really go. Now, as you can see here, there's edges that are untouched. And then let's activate the edge trim mode in the app. Now let's look at the TruEdge Trimmer deploy automatically. Honestly, watching it extend on its own and follow the edge tightly was surprisingly satisfying for me. It trims right along the side, the boundary, and then retracts automatically once finished. No manual following, no button holding, and no extra effort required for me. After the first pass, I walked over and checked the edge closely. Honestly, I expected it to leave some leftover grass, but the cleanup was honestly super impressive here. As you can see here, the edges looked finished without me needing to go back to them manually. That was the moment where I realized this might actually eliminate the need for a separate handheld trimmer altogether. And if you own a backyard lawn, you already know edge trimming is usually the most annoying part of the whole process. Seeing it handled automatically genuinely changed the experience for me. Next, I wanted to see if the cutting performance actually matched the premium positioning because the specs on paper don't always translate well on real-world use. The GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro runs on 32-volt energetic platform with dual staggered dual blade discs, and I decided to test it on one of the thicker sections of my lawn where robotic mowers normally slow down. This area usually causes hesitation or uneven cutting patterns, especially with weaker systems. But surprisingly, it pushed through without slowing down much at all. No stuttering, no struggling sounds, and the speed remained pretty consistent even in the denser grass areas. Because of the dual blade disc design and a wider cutting width, it also left a very even finish behind without leaving those visible center gaps you sometimes see on robotic mowers. One thing I noticed after multiple passes was how consistent the lawn looked afterward. It almost gives that light carpet-like finish when everything is evenly cut. I also like being able to electronically adjust the cutting height from 3 centimeters up to 9 centimeters directly in the app, depending on how I wanted the lawn to look. Overall, it felt powerful in actual use rather than feeling like it was constantly operating near its limits. Then I moved on to obstacle avoidance because this is another area where robotic mowers can feel unpredictable. As it approached, it detected it early and smoothly adjusts its route without bumping into it. What stood out to me was how natural the avoidance behavior felt. It didn't panic stop or make awkward corrections. It actually looked more controlled and intentional. You can also adjust obstacle avoidance height settings directly in the app, which is useful if you have pets, toys, or other objects around the yard regularly. Now personally, I think this is one of those features you don't fully appreciate until you actually use it, especially if you have kids or pets running around. Knowing the mower can intelligently react to larger objects gives a lot of confidence during operation. Now let's talk about setup, because this is another area where robotic mowers sometimes become super frustrating, right? And honestly, the GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro, there's no boundary wire and no external antenna setup. You basically position the mower, power it on, let it begin building a holographic map of the lawn automatically. Now the mapping process itself was actually faster than I expected, and setting up zones and schedules inside the app felt pretty straightforward. Multi-area management was simple, and I liked being able to customize mowing direction, cutting height, obstacle sensitivity, and scheduling all within the app. Now, to be completely honest, I did run into one small challenge during the setup. One tight corner near my fence line wasn't trimming exactly how I wanted on the first run, because I had the edge strategy set too conservatively. So I went back into the app, changed the edge setting. After that adjustment, it handled the area properly. The fix only took a couple of minutes, but I think mentioning things like this is important because every yard layout is different, and sometimes a little fine-tuning helps optimize the experience. Now, after using the GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro across multiple mowing cycles, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was confidence. Confidence that it wouldn't suddenly lose positioning near trees or walls, confidence that it would actually finish the lawn edges properly, and confidence that it could handle thicker grass without struggling, and the confidence that it could intelligently avoid obstacles around the yard without constantly needing supervision. And honestly, the fact that I didn't need to pull out a handheld trimmer might be the biggest compliment I can give this thing. That's actually the one task robotic mowers still leave behind. But here, it generally felt far more complete than what I'm used to seeing. Now, if you've been frustrated with RTK instability, unfinished lawn edges, or robotic mowers that still require too much manual setup, the ECOVACS A3000 LiDAR Pro honestly feels like one of the most complete hands-free systems I've ever tested so far. If you want to check out more information about the specs, availability, I'll leave the links in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. I'm curious, would you trust a full LiDAR-based mower over a traditional RTK system? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!